welcome to our deep dive into the world of enchantment.
Sounds fun.
You bet. We've got some really fascinating stuff to unpack for you.
Yeah.
You shared some audio chapters from the book Enchantment. Looks like you're really getting into the art of persuasion and influence.
I am.
And we're going to break down all those insights, like overcoming resistance using tech for lasting impact.
It's amazing how this book just dives right into why people resist new ideas.
Yeah,
It's not always just about being stubborn or anything.
it's true. And actually, the book identifies 5 common reasons, and it has this cool acronym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you ready for this?
Yeah.
IROME.
Like Rome.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like the city in Italy, but with a different spelling.
Okay, clever.
So the I stands for inertia.
Okay.
People are just comfy with the status quo, even if it's not the best,
It's true, it takes effort to change.
Yeah,
Sometimes easier to stick with what.
absolutely. Then there's R for relationships.
Oh.
Those existing relationships or situations that people are happy with.
Yeah, they might resist something new because it threatens those relationships or, comfortable routines.
And then we have O for options.
Options.
This one really resonated with me. The book talks about how people fear reducing their options.
Right.
Even if that new option is way better.
Yeah, it's that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
What if I make the wrong choice?
Totally. And that takes us to M for mistake.
Oh, uh-huh.
The book has this quote, people may think that as long as they haven't made a choice, they haven't made a mistake.
That is so true.
Isn't it?
People can be paralyzed by that fear of choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But the book says not making a choice is still a choice.
It is. And finally, there's E for examples, or the lack of them.
Oh, right.
If people don't see others successfully adopting a new idea, they might be hesitant to try it themselves.
Yeah, so understanding those 5 sources of resistance, IROME, can really help you be more persuasive.
Yeah.
You can tailor your approach, to address those specific fears and concerns.
It's like a cheat sheet for enchanting people.
Right. Okay, so once you get those roadblocks, the book says you can leverage something called social proof to overcome resistance.
Social proof. Okay.
And they talk about this wild experiment at Petrified Forest National Park.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
So they were trying to stop people from stealing petrified wood,
Okay.
by putting up signs, but
Right.
it totally backfired.
Really?
The signs that said, many past visitors have removed petrified wood from the park, changing the natural state of the petrified forest.
Okay.
Those signs actually increased theft.
What? So it made people want to steal more?
I know, it's crazy. It's like giving them permission because it seems like everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So instead of stopping the theft, they were encouraging it.
Wow. The power of suggestion.
I know, right?
That's wild.
It makes you think.
Absolutely.
So how does that tie into this idea of social proof?
Well, it's a perfect example of how we are influenced by what we think others are doing.
Okay.
We're more likely to do something if we think it's normal behavior.
Oh, and this isn't just some obscure psychology thing. Think about how much you see it in marketing.
Oh, totally. All those testimonials on websites or product reviews. Talk about how many people bought it. It's all about everyone's doing it, so it must be a good thing.
It is. And speaking of unexpected examples of social proof,
Yeah.
did you see the part about paid mourners at funerals?
Yeah, that was wild.
I can't imagine hiring people to cry at my funeral.
I know.
But in some cultures, it's a way to show how important the person was.
Yeah.
It's almost like a performance to make people feel grief and respect.
And there's even different prices depending on if you want mourners with tears or without.
I know.
Crazy, right?
It's crazy, but it shows how deep this social proof thing is in us.
Yeah.
We look to other people for how to act, what to believe, how to feel.
Makes you wonder about those viral videos online.
Yeah, are they really popular or is it just clever manipulation?
Who knows? But
Yeah.
it's definitely something to be aware of in today's world where information spreads like wildfire.
Totally. But the good news is you can use this knowledge of social proof to be a better communicator.
Okay, how?
If you can show that your idea or product has social support, you're more likely to get people on board.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, speaking of persuasion, this next concept was really interesting. The book contrasts ubiquity with scarcity, and
Yeah.
it seems like they can both be powerful tools.
Oh, for sure. Ubiquity is all about making something seem It's everywhere, like commonplace and familiar.
Yeah.
Like those white Apple headphones, they became a symbol of how popular the iPod was.
Right.
And that ubiquity made people feel comfy and trusting.
It's like if everyone has one, it must be good.
Exact.
But then there's scarcity, which is about making something seem exclusive.
Right.
Like, remember when Google launched Gmail with those invite-only accounts?
Oh, yeah, that was brilliant.
They didn't have to do that. It was all about creating hype.
Exactly.
It made people feel special, like they were part of this exclusive club.
And the book connects this to the availability heuristic.
Okay, what is that?
It's the idea that we think things that are easy to remember are more important.
Oh, interesting.
So if something's rare or hard to get, our brains tell us it must be valuable.
So knowing how to use both ubiquity and scarcity is like a secret weapon for persuasion.
It can be, for sure.
Now, this next idea really resonated with me. The book talks about making the magic visible.
Okay.
And they tell this story about Novasuchsian crystal, those fancy glass makers.
Yeah.
So they started letting people watch the craftsmen at work.
Okay.
And guess what happened?
What?
Sales went way up.
Wow. So just letting people see how it was made.
I know. It's the power of transparency.
It makes sense when people see the skill, the craftsmanship, they appreciate the value more.
Exactly. It becomes more than just a product. It's a story.
It is. It's like saying, hey, we're not hiding anything. This is how we do it, and we're proud of it.
I think that could be helpful for you in your work,
Definitely. It applies to so many fields.
Yeah.
Like chefs with open kitchens or artists who share their creative process online.
It's a way to connect with people on a deeper level.
It is.
Okay, this next anecdote was kind of unexpected. The book tells this story about diplomats from 2 different countries.
Okay.
They were struggling to find common ground during these intense negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of them mentions that he has to go home soon to go to the opera with his wife.
Oh.
And what do you know? They both hated opera.
Really?
That shared dislike totally broke the tension.
That's funny.
I know, it's amazing how even small points of agreement can make a difference.
It's like, hey, we're not that different after all.
Exactly. And the book gives some practical tips for finding those points of agreement.
Like what?
Like getting personal and connecting professionally, even using what-if scenarios to explore different perspectives.
Interesting. So it's all about building connections.
Yeah, that's often the foundation for persuasion.
Makes sense.
And speaking of connections, the book talks about this concept called labeling, which is basically the idea that the names we give things can influence how we see them.
Oh, that's interesting.
They did this experiment where students were labeled as hardworking by their teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Those students actually did better academically.
Wow. So just because of the label.
The label became like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That is wild.
Makes you wonder, right? How much our identity and behavior is shaped by the labels we're given.
It does.
And this has huge implications for marketing and branding.
Right. Think about how brands use labels to make you feel certain emotions or associations.
Yeah.
Like that Molson Canadian beer campaign with the slogan, I am Canadian.
Yeah.
It's not just selling beer, it's tapping into a sense of national pride.
It's brilliant marketing.
It is.
They're making you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself.
By drinking beer.
Exactly. Okay. You're going to love this next story.
Okay.
It's straight out of Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, and it involves a political rival and a very rare book.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So Franklin wanted to win over this rival who had opposed him in the past.
Oh.
But instead of arguing or trying to be all buddy-buddy, he did something totally unexpected.
Okay. What?
He asked to borrow a rare book from the rival's personal library.
What? And that worked.
It did. The rival felt flattered by the request and lent him the book.
Oh.
Franklin returned it right away with a nice thank you note, and their relationship totally changed.
Really?
They actually became friends.
That is amazing.
It's fascinating, right? The psychology behind it.
Yeah, like, why would that work?
Doing someone a favor, even a small one, makes them more likely to help you again later.
Oh, that's interesting.
It creates this sense of obligation, and it strengthens the relationship.
So it's almost like a little investment.
It is. So here's a challenge for you.
Okay.
Think of a small favor you can ask someone you want to build a stronger relationship with.
Okay.
It could be anything like advice or a recommendation.
I like that.
Sometimes the best way to persuade someone is to be counterintuitive.
You're right.
And this leads to another key insight from the book. Enchantment isn't always a solo mission. The book gives this example of a Stanford PhD student who's trying to decide about a job offer.
Okay.
And her decision is influenced by her grandparents, her parents, and her boyfriend.
Wow. So it's a group effort.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Enchanting often involves winning over a whole network of people.
That's a good point.
And the book is another example. The U.S. Navy was having trouble recruiting young people
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
because their moms were worried.
Of course.
So what they do, they created a website just for moms
Really?
to address their concerns and build support. They realized they needed to enchant the moms too.
It's true. You got to think about all the stakeholders.
Exactly. And that brings us to another fascinating example, how Steve Jobs framed Android phones as devices for people who want porn.
Oh, wow. That's classic Jobs.
Provocative, memorable.
It gets people talking.
It does. Whether you agree with his tactics or not, it highlights how important it is to understand your competition and find ways to differentiate your cause.
Make it stick in people's minds.
Yes. And this next one is interesting. The book dives into the power of touch.
Touch.
Yeah, it might sound strange, but even things like the weight of a clipboard or the softness of a chair can actually influence judgment.
Really?
It's called haptic sensations.
Interesting.
The research shows that those subtle tactile experiences can shape our perceptions and decisions.
Wow.
So think about how you can create a positive tactile experience for people you want to enchant,
Okay.
like offering a comfortable feat or giving them a beautifully designed product that feels good to hold.
Little things can make a big difference.
Again, I think you'll find this next story really inspiring. The book introduces us to Charlie Wiedemeyer, a high school football coach who was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh, wow.
You know, I got to admit, when I first read about Charlie, I was expecting a story about overcoming adversity.
Yeah,
And while that's part of it, his story is about so much more.
it is.
This man was given a devastating diagnosis,
Right.
but instead of giving up, he kept coaching for 8 years, even when he was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
His wife, Lucy, would read his lips and facial expressions to relay plays to the team.
Talk about dedication.
I know, and it wasn't just about football. Charlie and Lucy touched so many lives. They were a true testament to the power of love and resilience.
They defied the odds.
They did. They lived for 32 years after his diagnosis, inspiring countless people along the way.
Incredible.
Their story shows us that enchantment isn't about manipulating people.
Yeah,
It's about connecting with them,
yeah.
deeply sharing a vision, inspiring them to believe in something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the idea of enduring enchantment.
Okay.
It's about moving beyond that initial transaction, that one-time sale, and creating something that resonates with people's values and aspirations.
I like that.
The book uses the example of REI, the outdoor recreation retailer.
Oh, yeah, I love REI.
They've built this incredible community around their brand, a shared passion for adventure and environmental stewardship.
It's more than just buying stuff.
It is. It's about belonging, sharing values, contributing to something bigger.
And the book outlines 3 stages of how we internalize those values.
Right.
Conformity identification and internalization.
Conformity is that first stage where you might be going along with something just cause of peer pressure or to fit in.
Okay.
Then there's identification, where you start to see yourself as part of the group. You find common ground. You're drawn to the leader or the idea.
Right.
And finally, there's internalization, where the values become truly your own. It's no longer about pleasing others or shitting in. It's about genuine belief.
That's powerful.
It's the ultimate goal of enchantment.
It is. It's about inspiring people to embrace a cause, a belief, a way of life, because it resonates with them on a deep level.
And the book gives some practical strategies for making that kind of lasting impact, which we'll get into after a quick break.
Sounds good.
So we talked about understanding resistance and using social proof to your advantage.
Right.
Now let's dive into some practical strategies from the book for making enchantment last.
Okay.
You know, create that deep impact that really sticks.
Sounds good.
And some of them are pretty counterintuitive,
Really?
like separating believers to foster innovation.
That sounds kind of weird.
Right. You'd think that would create division.
Yeah.
But the book says when like-minded people are all together, it can actually stifle new ideas.
I guess it becomes like an echo chamber.
Exactly. Dissenting voices get drowned out.
So a little bit of disagreement can be a good thing.
Exactly. A little friction can lead to more creative thinking.
Makes sense.
It's like cross-pollination of ideas.
Okay, and what about pushing implementation down to the grassroots level?
Yeah. Why do you think that's important?
Well, it's about empowering those on the front lines, the people closest to the action.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the most passion and understanding.
It's about tapping into that intrinsic motivation, right? That fire in the belly.
Exactly, instead of just relying on money or external rewards.
And speaking of money, There's a whole section on the limits of using money as an enchantment tool.
Interesting.
It cites research suggesting that exposure to money can actually make people less helpful,
Really?
more focused on individual gain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like money triggers a shift in mindset away from collaboration and social connection.
Like the opposite of enchantment.
Exactly. We want to build connection and shared purpose,
Right.
not just individual gain.
Okay, but how do you make that happen?
Well, the book talks about the power of reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
I love that story about Ethiopia sending aid to Mexico 50 years after Mexico had helped them.
Oh, yeah, that was incredible.
Back in 1935, Mexico was one of the few countries to support Ethiopia when Italy invaded.
Right.
And then decades later, when an earthquake hit Mexico City, Ethiopia sent them aid, even though they were struggling with famine themselves.
Wow, talk about returning a favor.
It shows how acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
They can.
And it reminds me of that story about those kids from South Carolina who presented a check to Rudy Giuliani to replace a fire truck lost in the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, yeah, what was that about?
Turned out New Yorkers had raised money for a fire wagon for Columbia, South Carolina after a fire back in 1869. And those kids were making good on a promise to return the favor if New York ever needed help.
That's amazing.
So pay it forward, right?
I get.
And the book says giving shouldn't feel like a burden or a transaction.
Okay.
It should be joyful, give early, give often.
I like that.
And surprisingly, even asking for reciprocation can be a good thing.
Really? How so?
It strengthens relationships because it gives the recipient a chance to repay the debt and feel good about it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It creates balance and shared commitment.
Makes sense.
So you're inviting them into this virtuous cycle.
Okay, so you've sparked that connection and generosity. How do you make it last?
Well, the book highlights the importance of getting people to make a commitment
A commitment to what?
to your cause, whether it's buying a product, volunteering their time, or spreading the word.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be huge. Even something small can make a difference.
The point is once they've committed, they want to be consistent with their actions.
Right. It's part of how we build our identity.
I mean,
So they've invested something of themselves and they want to see it through.
that consistency builds momentum.
It does. Okay, this next concept was a bit abstract for me. The book talks about building an ecosystem around your cause.
An ecosystem, what does that mean?
It's like creating a supportive community
Okay.
that reinforces the values and beliefs you're promoting.
So, like, what could that include?
User groups, online forums, conferences, even third-party developers, creating tools and resources.
I see, so like a whole network of support.
Exactly like the open source software movement or the online gaming community.
Right, they've got those vibrant ecosystems.
And the book stresses that the most important step is creating something truly worthy of an ecosystem.
Of course, you got to have a great foundation,
Right, if you build it, they will come.
but you got to build something amazing first.
And once you have that foundation, the book suggests finding and recruiting evangelists.
Evangelists as passionate support.
Exactly. They have that authentic enthusiasm that's contagious.
And don't forget to give people meaningful ways to participate.
Right.
Whether it's contributing content, giving feedback, or sharing their experiences.
The more involved they are, the more invested they become.
Exactly. Foster that sense of ownership and belonging.
And that brings us to the importance of diversity.
Diversity, okay.
The book argues that a diverse team helps make enchantment last because it keeps things fresh and relevant.
You don't want to get stuck in an echo chamber.
Exactly. Diversity avoids groupthink and expands your reach.
And it's not just about demographics. It's about different roles and personalities, too.
The book recommends having an advocate, a skeptic, a visionary, an adult, an evangelist, and a rainmaker.
Wow, that's quite the team.
It's like a superhero team for enchantment.
You need all those different perspectives.
Exactly. Okay, this last example was fascinating. Remember the Grateful Dead?
Oh, yeah, the band.
The book talks about how they embraced spreadability, encouraging fans to record their concerts and share the music.
That's pretty radical for the music industry.
It went against the traditional model of controlling intellectual property.
But it worked for them.
It did. They built one of the most loyal fan bases ever.
Their concerts were legendary.
They were. It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to spread enchantment is to let go of control.
And embrace the power of the crowd.
Exactly. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about how technology can amplify enchantment.
Okay.
The book dedicates a whole chapter to what it calls push technology, specifically presentations, email, and Twitter.
Oh, interesting.
But before getting into the specifics, it lays out some general principles.
Like what?
Engage fast, engage many, and engage often.
A mantra for online engagement.
It is. And the book also says to use multiple media, provide value, give credit where it's due,
Okay.
and give people the benefit of the doubt.
Right. It's about building relationships, not winning arguments.
Exactly. And of course, don't take any crap.
Okay.
Stand up for your values, but do it with grace and civility
Makes sense.
and limit self-promotion.
It's not all about you.
It's not okay, let's talk presentations.
Yeah.
The book says it's super important to customize the introduction.
Right. That first impression.
It's your chance to grab their attention.
A mini enchantment spell.
I like that you want to connect with the audience,
Mm-hmm.
make them feel seen and heard.
Set the stage.
And the book suggests using pictures to personalize your presentations.
Ooh, yeah. Visuals are powerful.
They are. It reminds me of that example they gave of you showing pictures of all the HP printers in your house.
Oh, right. When I was speaking to their printer division.
It was a simple way to show you understood their world.
Showed I'd done my homework.
And once you've got their attention, it's time to sell the dream.
Sell the dream.
Tap into those deeper motivations.
Right.
Not just features and benefits. Paint a picture of a better future.
A cooler way of life.
Exactly. The book suggests thinking of your presentation like a screenplay with 3 acts.
Oh, interesting.
Setting up the story, presenting the drama, resolving the conflict.
A classic storytelling structure.
And don't forget to dramatize.
Okay.
Use evocative images, powerful videos, engaging demos,
Bring your message to life.
and of course, practice, practice, practice.
Can't emphasize that enough.
And don't be afraid to warm up the audience.
How do you mean?
Arrive early, mingle with the crowd, make those personal connections.
Before you even start.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk email. Might seem a bit old-fashioned,
Yeah, in the age of social media.
but it's still a vital tool for enchantment,
Really? Why?
especially for those one-on-one relationships.
Okay.
And first impressions matter.
They do.
The book says it's important to have a professional email address.
One that uses your organization's domain,
It shows you're serious.
not just some random person.
And if you're reaching out to someone new, try to get an introduction from someone they know.
Oh, that's a good tip.
It's like having a virtual wingman.
It makes a huge difference.
It does that personal connection, instantly boosts your credibility.
And even with a warm introduction, make sure your subject line is personalized and interesting.
Yes, grab their attention.
A mini enchantment spell for your inbox.
I love it. And once they open the email, keep it brief.
How brave.
The book suggests 6 sentences or less.
Why? That's short.
It shows respect for their time and forces you to be clear and concise
Good point.
and avoid attachments, especially in that first email.
Okay.
It can be annoying.
And trigger spam filters.
Now, this next tip is crucial. Make sure you're asking for something concrete,
Don't be vague.
right? Be clear about your call to action, whether it's visiting your website, reading an article, or scheduling a call.
Okay, so be specific.
And do your homework, understand the recipient's interests, and how your cause aligns with their values.
Show them you're not just sending a mass email.
Exactly. Personalize it, make it relevant. Okay, let's talk Twitter.
Twitter,
The book calls it the most powerful enchantment tool.
I can see why it's great for connecting with people.
It is, and it all starts with your profile.
Your profile.
Make sure you have a great photo.
One that shows your personality.
Makes you look approachable and engaging.
Okay.
And don't forget to craft a compelling bio.
Highlight your expertise and interests.
It's like your virtual elevator pitch.
Right.
Now, this one might surprise you. The book suggests repeating your tweets
Repeating them why?
because Twitter moves so fast. People might miss your message the first time,
Makes sense.
and different people are online at different times.
So repeating increases your chances of being seen.
Exactly. And when you are tweeting, share informative links that are relevant to your followers.
Provide value.
The book suggests using resources like Stumble Upon SmartBrief and Alltop to find great content.
Good tips.
And don't forget to engage with people directly.
Respond to tweets, ask questions, have conversations.
That's what makes Twitter so powerful.
It's all about those personal interactions.
Take a look at people's profiles. Understand their interests. Tailor your responses.
Show them you're paying attention.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to promoting your own work or cause, keep it to a minimum.
Okay.
No more than 5% of your tweets should be promotional.
Don't overdo it.
It's about relationships, not ads.
Hmm.
Okay, let's move on to a platform that's often overlooked, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, I usually think of that as more for professional networking.
You do. But the book says it can be a powerful tool for enchantment.
How so?
It's all about building your credibility, showcasing your expertise, and connecting with people in your field.
Okay, I can see that.
Start with your profile.
Make sure it's up to date.
Highlight your skills and accomplishments.
It's like your online resume, but more personal.
And don't be afraid to participate in LinkedIn Answers.
Oh, right, where you answer questions and share your expertise.
It's a great way to demonstrate your knowledge.
Build your reputation.
And check out LinkedIn groups.
Find groups that interest you.
Engage in discussions. Connect with like-minded professionals.
Okay, now this is where LinkedIn gets really interesting.
What do you mean?
The book talks about using it to reach out to people you want to connect with, even if you don't know them.
Well, that's a good idea.
You can research potential clients, partners, or employers
Learn about their interests, their
to
background.
see who you have in common.
It's like a virtual Rolodex, but with way more info.
You can even use LinkedIn to check people's reputations. You can find people who've worked with them in the past and get their insights.
Wow, that's a great tip.
Do your due diligence.
And don't forget about using LinkedIn to scope out companies,
Oh, yeah, you can learn about their culture, their values,
their hiring practice.
even get a sense of employee morale.
It's like having an inside scoop.
Oh, okay. What about YouTube?
YouTube, the book describes it as the world's most popular online video community.
It is, and for good reason.
So how do you make your videos stand out?
Well, the book emphasizes providing intrinsic value.
Create content that's inspiring, entertaining, or educational.
Give people a reason to watch.
And keep it short.
People have short attention spans.
The book also talks about using keywords, titles, descriptions, and thumbnails to help people find your videos.
Make your content searchable.
And once people find your videos, make sure they're easy to share.
Encourage embedding sharing on social media, emailing to friends.
Tap into the power of the crowd.
Okay, now, for something a little different, the book shares 10 Japanese aesthetic principles for creating more enchanting content.
Oh, interesting.
They're all about simplicity, elegance, focusing on the essentials.
Okay, like what? Eliminating clutter using asymmetry understanding without elaborating depicting naturalness.
Transcending habit, achieving tranquility, embodying harmony, providing emptiness, and appreciating the unstated.
Wow, that sounds deep.
It's about stripping away the unnecessary and focusing on what truly matters.
And the book shares 2 personal stories that I found really insightful.
Oh, who are they from?
One is from Gar Reynolds, a presentation consultant who's fascinated by Japan.
Okay.
And the other is from Neil Evans, who talks about how closed captioning opened up the world of entertainment for her as a deaf person.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
Gar talks about how his experiences in Japan have shaped his approach to presentations,
Interesting.
emphasizing simplicity, harmony, and subtle suggestion.
It's amazing how personal experiences can inform our work.
And Neil's story reminds us how technology can create access and connection,
Opening doors to new experiences.
and how important it is to consider diverse perspectives when designing and creating anything.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but before we wrap up, let's focus on the final chapter of the book, which is all about making enchantment endure,
Making it last.
creating that impact that goes beyond the initial moment of connection.
Okay.
And it starts with understanding those 3 stages of internalizing values we talked about earlier.
Conformity, identification, and internalization.
Right, conformity is going along with something because of external pressure or to fit in.
Okay.
Identification is seeing yourself as part of the group, drawn to the leader or the idea.
Right.
And internalization is when those values become truly your own.
It's about genuine belief.
That's the goal of Enchantment, to inspire that deep, lasting commitment.
It is.
And the book offers a variety of strategies to achieve that.
Like what?
We've talked about some of them: separating believers to foster innovation, pushing implementation down to the grassroots level, using intrinsic motivation instead of money, invoking reciprocity, catalyzing commitment and consistency.
And building a supportive ecosystem.
Exactly. And diversity is crucial for long-term success.
Different perspectives keep things fresh and relevant.
And the book reminds us that enchantment is ultimately about creating something worthy of that ecosystem,
Something people believe in and champion.
long after that initial spark of inspiration. You know, it's interesting how the book brings it all back to storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
It shares this great story about a customer relations consultant
Okay.
named Chris Anthony and his honeymoon at Disney World.
Oh, wow.
It shows how powerful those little personal touches can be.
Even in a huge place like Disney.
So Chris and his wife were on their honeymoon,
Uh-huh.
and they had a really bad experience at a non-Disney hotel.
Oh, no.
They were pretty bummed, and they ended up telling their story to a restaurant manager at Chico in the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Okay.
And that's when the magic happened.
What'd she do?
The manager, Sarah, went above and beyond to make things right. She upgraded them to a room at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, matched the price of the other hotel, basically turned their honeymoon into a dream come true.
Wow, talk about going the extra mile.
It's like something out of a fairy tale.
It is.
It shows that enchantment isn't about big gestures or fancy campaigns.
Right.
It's about those small human moments that make people feel seen and valued.
And it made a customer for life.
It did. Chris said he'll never stay anywhere else at Disney World.
That's the power of one person's empathy.
It really is.
Mhm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into enchantment,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways for our listener?
Well, I think the most important thing is that enchantment is about more than just getting what you want.
Okay.
It's about creating a shared experience, a sense of belonging, a belief in something bigger than ourselves.
Making connections,
Right.
building trust, inspiring others to embrace your vision.
Exactly. And it's not about manipulating people.
Right.
It's about authenticity, generosity, a genuine desire to make the world better.
I love that. So to our listener, think about what you want to enchant the world with.
What are you passionate about?
How can you use these principles to share your vision and create positive change?
Explore the book experiment. Have fun with it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.